Honorable Sashikant Guruji, you may go ahead.
Hello, everybody. Once again, a warm and cherished morning to our most valued and honorable chief guest, and also to those who have directly or indirectly become the part of this program. We are grateful to our chief guest accepting our invitation and becoming a trainer of this event. Our chief guest doesn't require an introduction, as he is a versatile personality in the field of educationists. He is a
नकुल कुमार शर्मा जी उपस्थित है। आपकी प्रेरणा से व्यक्तित्व विकास महोत्सव एवं अभी जो लगभग एक सप्ताह से जो विभिन्न विषय का प्रशिक्षण वर्ग चल रहा है, आप की प्रेरणा से प्रेरित है। आपका
शशिकांत गुरु जी बगल वाले
आवाज आ रही है रंजन जी?
जी आ रही है।
आप बोलिए। Okay. Our chief guest doesn't require an introduction, as he is a well-recognized figure among the educationists. He is well known for his versatile personality. Apart from this, he is a philanthropist. Dr. Avinash Kumar is an assistant professor, Department of English, DAV Postgraduate College, Shivan, where he teaches English literature to students at postgraduate and undergraduate level. Dr. Avinash Kumar completed his PhD in JNU, New Delhi. He has taught in colleges in Delhi University before joining JP University, Chhapra. Dr. Kumar has got many publications in national and international referred journals. He has been invited in many universities for lecture and paper presentation across India. It is really a great honor for us all to find such a versatile personality among us. I wish this training program enlightens us all and provide us with approaches to deal with the problems of tomorrow. I know whatever I will tell about Dr. Avinash sir will be less than he deserves. Once again, I welcome him and request him to come and perform the job he is assigned for today. We know the topic for today is use of teaching, learning materials and technology in promoting speaking English. I hope this session will really be a successful one under the guideline of Dr. Avinash Kumar. So, sir, please come and show us our way. Thank you very much. Sir Avinash, sir.
Thank you very much. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Clearly audible.
Okay, first of all, I would like to thank the organizers for having these interactive sessions, which were meant basically to talk about the improvement in spoken English, which is very much relevant for students as well as those who are interested in teaching activities, especially in a state like Bihar here, where every day we find students who are struggling to speak English fluently. Then there are students who are hesitant to speak English, and at the same time, even the teachers, they are rather unsure of how to proceed and in which direction to proceed uh, in order to give a good spoken English background to the students. First of all, before we proceed towards the different methods of improving the spoken skills of the students, let me uh, define the goals that we have in front of us. The goals, first of all, we have to understand that spoken English courses across the world, they are primarily meant for those who are non-native speakers. By non-native speakers, again, this is a very confusing word. Who is a native speaker of English? Are the Britishers themselves native speakers of English? The answer will be no. It's right from the beginning of the evolution and development of the English language. For those who are teachers of English literature and English language, they might know that the Celtic people of England, once the Germanic Saxonic tribes attacked England and they took a major bulk of the British Isles. After that, the Normandians they also attacked England in 1066 AD. And after that, there was an incursion of different languages, different colonial and one must say countries of the continental Europe who had a huge impact upon the evolution and development of English language. And as a result of that, the Greek impact, the Latin impact, Portuguese, all those languages, they went to the British Islands, and there we have got an enriched English language coming out of that. So, who is a native speaker? That is the fundamental point. And if we are trying to standardize pronunciation, if we are trying to standardize the method of spoken English, then I think we are in a deep trouble because there is a hardly a standard across the world. What is a standard English? Some might say it is the British. At the same time, if British English is the standard English, if you look at the people who have been a part of English literature across the world and who have been given various prizes like the Booker and the Nobel Prizes in literature, none of them are from England for the past 70 years, except two or three of them. So you see, English has spread across the world, and there is a lot of uncertainty to define who is a native speaker and who is not a native speaker. The colonies, which became a part of the British Empire for a long period of time, and those colonies, people living there, three or four generations later on, they believe that they are the native speakers of English. America is a classic case here. People from America might say that we are native speakers of English, but they forget that English came to America as a colony of the Britishers. Similarly, different languages also went there. French was there. Canada has been under the colonial rule for a long period of time. So you see, this distinction, standard distinction between the native speakers and the non-native speakers, the same holds true for Australia also. You may see the Aboriginal Australians and those who were the British convicts who were transported to Australia, and the language that they speak. So, who is the native speaker there in Australia? The Aboriginals or the Australian people who were there in as convicts, the British convicts over there. So, since the very fundamental distinction of who is a native and who is not a native speaker, it is a bit blurred across the world. It is something which is not only happening in India. In fact, it is much more clear in India that English is a foreign language for us, English remains a foreign language. Even for those who have been studying, teaching, and understanding literature for a long period of time, even for them, it is not their native language. The same holds true for the people who are speaking English in the African countries, in the Latin American countries. We have got wonderful writers who are writing in English. We have got wonderful speakers who are speaking English, but they don't always follow the British accent. They don't always follow the British tone, the pitch, the fluency that the Britishers used to have. And the matter of fact is that they don't need to do that. We have to understand that we are Indians. We have got our own huge cultural diversity. And for us, English as a foreign language, we have to understand it and we have to use it because we have got its utility. If we are going to survive in a global world order where there will be jobs in the multinational companies, where we have got a Macaulayan education system, which is very much dependent upon English language. If we look at all those things, English is not something which comes naturally to us. English is something which is unnatural. You see, there are two processes of language learning that we know. One is called the natural process, in which we speak first, we learn to speak first, and then we begin writing in that language. For example, people who are from Bihar, the moment gained consciousness and we were to speak in a language, we used to speak in Bhojpuri. Later on, we got Hindi language, and English came to us as the third language. In fact, in my case, it came as the fourth language because Sanskrit was also there for me. So after Bhojpuri and Hindi and Sanskrit, then we have got English language. Later on, it became a profession for me. It is giving me a job, and that is why I am teaching English literature. So you have to understand that I did not learn to speak English before I learned to write it. First, I learned how to write it. I learned the alphabets. I learned the basic grammatical structure of English language. Then I used that to speak. I used that to study literature. And then I am what I am today. So you see, this is a very unnatural method of learning language. And therefore, you cannot compare an unnatural method of learning language and your fluency in that language in comparison with that of your native language. So across the world, the courses which are about English language teaching and about English spoken English courses, they are basically aimed at the non-native speakers. And in order to define what kind of fluency the non-natives require, we have people from different, for those who have got certain requirements, and those, for example, who have to visit the international countries, you have to go to America, then you need a different level of English and a different kind of English pronunciation, which will be helpful for you when you go over to America. And similarly, if you have to remain in India, then you have to understand what kind of a spoken language that you require. As a matter of fact, we can easily say that for good pronunciation, we have to make three defining features of our language. First of all, it should be easy to understand. Secondly, it should be pleasant to hear. And thirdly, it should be easy for us to pronounce it for ourselves. For that, let us go back to the three things that I am talking about. First of all, it should be easy to understand. And why so? The fundamental reason is that the sole purpose, or the initial purpose at least, of language learning is communication. You have to communicate. And if the language that you are speaking, if you are speaking the words which are not easily accessible for people to whom it is addressed, if the way you speak, there is a twist in the tongue which cannot convey the desired impact, the desired communication to the target person, then I don't think that is the right way of going about your own pronunciation. It should be something which should be easy to understand for the person who is sitting in front of you, who is the target audience for you. So if you are talking to a person who is from India, then you don't need to go for the British or the American accent. You cannot perfect that. It is a truth. It is a biological truth, and it is also scientific truth that every individual, after getting to learn that mother language, that mother tongue that we have got, the structure of our oral cavity is so defined phonetically that if a person who has been speaking Bhojpuri ever since his or her childhood, when that person tries to acquire English language, the tone, the accent of Bhojpuri, it cannot be completely taken away. It is not possible. It is humanly not possible. That will always stay there. What you can do, you can moderate it. There can be certain moderations, and you can expect that the person who has got a background of Bhojpuri or a person who has got a background of Hindi, and that person will only reach a certain level of perfection as per the British standards. So that does not mean that the person who is speaking with some undertones of Bhojpuri is not perfect speaker of English. That is not the case. If he is able to communicate what he has to communicate to the audience, then it is fine. That is the standard for him. If the language that the person is speaking, and if it is pleasant for the person who is listening to him or her, then it is fine. It's perfect. If the person who is speaking a foreign language, which is a non mother tongue language for him, then you can say that the person, if he is comfortable in pronouncing those words, if he is comfortable in fluently speaking the way he is speaking, and it can be understood by the others also, so that is perfect. That is the standard for him. So there is no perfect, or you may say there is no standard of a spoken English. People from Punjab will speak a different English. People from Delhi have a different accent. People from UP will have a different accent. People from Bihar will have a different accent. People from Bengal will have a different accent. And people from South India, the southern parts of India, they will have a different accent, because their mother tongue, which defines the way they have learned to speak, which defines the way their structure of the oral cavity has been designed over a period of time, they will decide, those factors will always come into play if you try to gain fluency in a third language or a fourth language, which is English in this case. So therefore, we have to redefine the goals that we have. You cannot expect a person from a rural background, a person who has been speaking Bhojpuri for a long period of time, to come up and speak English like the Britishers do. Actually, these people don't need, they are not required to speak like the Britishers. We are Indians, and we are very proud Indians, and we would like to speak English like Indians. That is enough. That is the goal that we have to reach. The only point here is that we should be grammatically correct. We should be orally audible. We should be easy to understand. The language that we are speaking, it is something which sounds pleasant for the person who is sitting in front of us. And we ourselves, most importantly, if the person who is speaking that language, if that person is quite comfortable with the language that he or she is speaking, then it is perfectly fine. So these are the goals that we have to define for ourselves. These are the goals which as the teachers of English language, we have to set in front of us before we embark on our journey of teaching literature to the students. And this is also something which I have experienced over a period of time during my stay in JNU, as well as during those days when I was teaching in various colleges of Delhi University as a guest faculty. What I really realized that there is a sense of elitism. There is a sense of elitism about English language. People who speak English, who write English, they consider themselves elite in certain quarters. And that is where the problem arises. It is not necessary that a person who is speaking English in a very good accent, it is not necessary that that person will write very good English. And it is also not important, it is not also not necessary that the person who is speaking very fluent English has got a very good command over the language itself. These are two different things. Whenever we use a particular language for communication, it has got three stages. It has got writing, it has got reading, and it has got speaking. Therefore, speaking is only one of the three things that are integral to development of language development among the students. And this is where we have to understand, we have to give its proper place. Speaking is just a part of the language communication, which requires reading as well as writing. So there are certain classrooms in DU, for example, for some certain period of time, I was teaching in St. Stephen's, and I found certain students who were from Bihar. And of course, since we are teaching in DU, and if I have got my own roots in Bihar, then I will have some soft corner for those who are coming from the rural parts of Bihar, and they have come through the competition. They are getting education in the topmost universities and colleges of the country. And there was an inferiority complex amongst those students from Bihar because their accent, it has got an undertone of Bhojpuri about it. The students who were from Delhi itself, or students who were from West Bengal, they were actually speaking accented English in the British accent, and they used to behave in such a way that students from Bihar and the eastern UP, they had got an inferiority complex. And it took a long time for me to give a proper and equal uh, weightage and equal sense of understanding and feeling amongst all my students. And I think that was an achievement for me, because these students, when they were writing English, they were writing better than those who were from the elite institutions. And that was a great value for them. It was a great point for them. They were scoring very good marks, but the only problem was that when they used to speak in the classrooms, and as a matter of fact, classroom teaching and its interactive value, it has got marks in the academia in JNU as well as in certain colleges of DU also. Uh, all those things had an impact upon these students from the rural background to excel, to improve. And I set them certain goals, certain deadlines, that the language that you are speaking to, it should be grammatically correct. It cannot be perfect, but the way you speak, it should be conveyed to me. It should be conveyed to your classmates. And whenever you are coming up on a stage, or you are kind of speaking on certain topics, then you have to speak. Hello. Actually, there is some internet issue over here, and because of that, sometimes I have to switch off the video because the internet capability of the place is rather limited. And if I turn on the video, there are times when the audio becomes a bit difficult to convey for you. Anyway, if at any point in time you feel that there is some problem with the audio, please let me know. And that is why I was keeping the video shut down for some time. Yes. So we were basically talking about the goals that we have to set for ourselves before we move forward to any course about spoken English. And the goal should be very clear. We have to allow the students to be what they are. We have to allow the students to speak the way they want to speak, unless it is easily accessible. It could be easily understood by the person to whom they are speaking, to the person to whom they are addressing their things. Uh, for this to happen, I think we need to make certain distinctions as to what is the level of the student and how to begin training of the spoken English for those students. We need to classify the levels that they belong to. We need to classify the methods that we have to use to impart good education to those students. Since I was given this topic, let me also come to the point that use of technology in imparting education to the students, it has become so integral in the past 10 or 15 years that there are certain times when the relationship between the teacher and the student, it is so much overpowered by the computers, by these technologies, that sometimes the teacher is out of the scene and the computers themselves become the teachers. I think that is where we should stop. That is where we should understand that the teaching learning methods that the computers provide, the various softwares that have been designed over the years by various institutions and scientific organizations, they are only for help. The teacher and the student, they have to interact with themselves, and in the same way that we use copies and pens and blackboards in the classrooms, similarly we have to use computers, we have to use the various technologies that are available for us. But we can never let it happen that the blackboard becomes the teacher. If the computer becomes the teacher, it is like similar to say that the blackboard becomes the teacher. Of course there is a difference because the computers have got all those audio facilities, they have got all those video facilities, but they are something which need to be used only for helping out the students through exercises, to allow the students for some sort of a self help. For example, when the students are there in the classroom, and as a teacher you are giving them exercises for improving their spoken English, you can use various computer databases which can be used for exercises. And then the students, when they are not in touch with the teacher and they have got a certain you may say issue regarding pronunciation of a particular word, then they can go to the internet and search for the word, and every word in the dictionary on Google you will find it. It may be the Cambridge University Press Dictionary, or it may be the Oxford one, or any Webster, Merriam Webster is also there. So they give you a proper phonetic pronunciation as well. So that is the advantage that we have. The computers, they give an audio input to the students for self help, only when the teacher is not available, when the teacher is not there to correct them. And of course the teacher cannot be there to correct them all the time. It is only in the classrooms that they were there to help them out. So we have to draw a line between the role of the teacher, the way the teacher has to proceed while encouraging the students to go for spoken English, and the amount of use of technology that they have to adopt for getting better knowledge of the language and for having better spoken English capabilities. So when we, for example, we teach the students, we begin course on spoken English with the word pronunciation. First of all, in most classes when I begin such a course, I begin with the word pronounce itself. Many students don't understand that pronounce has got an extra O in its structure, which is not there in pronunciation. So pronounce and pronunciation, they are pronounced differently. So that is the way we start any classes on pronunciation. And then we take them to various issues. For example, the methods that we take, the methods that make speaking English easier for them. The methods which include the use of contraction. I think somebody has got a question, and after I finish, I think I will give you enough time for having a debate, for having a discussion. And please keep all your questions ready. When once I finish my lecture, then we will take up the questions also, right? So please keep those things ready for yourself. I was talking about the various methods, and those methods are very simple and they are being practiced for a long period of time in various classrooms. For example, the use of the linking, the contraction. What is a contraction? For example, if there is a, we say, I won't go there. So I would not go there. That is shortened, that is contracted and becomes I won't go there. Okay. And then we say, he isn't there. He is not there. We reduce that, we contract that, and it becomes he isn't there. Similarly, he hasn't gone there. He hasn't been doing this. So there are various methods. I think as teachers of English language, most people who are here, they might find it out, and they have been using it for all those things. Sorry, just hold on. Yes. So there are various methods. For example, contraction. Then there is something which is called the linking. By linking, you mean that you link a particular vowel sound with a consonant sound, or you can use linking for a vowel to vowel linking. For example, we have to understand that he was going there. He was aware. He was aware. So S was S and aware. There is a consonant sound which is followed by a vowel sound. So he was aware. He was aware. So there you see, we try to link up the words, a vowel sound with a consonant sound, or we try to link up a vowel sound with a vowel sound to make things easier for you. Then there are a few more things that you usually do in your classrooms. For example, the use of the homophones, the use of the phonetic symbols, the various methods of phonetic transcription that you use, and at the same time, you also use to understand the fact that it is the sound which matters. In pronunciation, it is not the letters which matter; it is the sound which matters, and this is where English is quite different from certain other European languages. For example, in French and in Italian languages, in Roman, you will see that the syllables have got a fixed length, whereas in English, the syllables don't have a fixed length. There is this concept of stressed and unstressed. That is why, for example, one sentence which has got too many stresses, it may be a shorter sentence, but it will take a longer time to speak. Similarly, there may be a longer sentence with less number of stresses, which will take a shorter time to speak. So you see, these are, I mean, various specific things which are linked with the English language. The use of sounds, not the syllables. It is the sounds and the stress and the unstressed. Then we have got to look at the various factors. For example, the rhythm, the pitch, the tone. And that is where, as I began the lecture, I made it very clear that the tone, the pitch, and the fluency that we have, it is something which is dependent upon the place. It is dependent upon the class of students that we are dealing with. If we are at a higher level, we are at the master's level, then we have got higher standards. If we are at a lower level, then we may have a lower standard, set standards. If somebody has to converse with somebody who is from another country, from a Western country, then that person requires a different level of understanding and a different level of fluency and pronunciation. If the person has to stay in India and he has to teach in the classrooms, that person requires a different accent, a different fluency, a different tone, a different pitch that they speak in. So you see, these are various, factors that we have been using over a long period of time in our classrooms also. And the students are also willing to take up those things. What I do practice in the classrooms is that apart from, I divide the class into two halves. In the first half, I speak on the subject, upon the topic. And in the second half, I allow the students to speak on various subjects. And that allows them to speak up, to remove the hesitation that they have while speaking in English. As a result of that, we have got within a classroom environment, we have got a teacher who will correct you if you are wrong. There is a teacher who is not going to look down upon you because you are not going to use accented English in the British accent, of course, here. If you make mistakes in the speaking, then the teacher will correct you. You see, when somebody is at an initial stage of language learning, and especially if that language is not the first or second language, it is a third or the fourth language, it is not the mother tongue. In that case, it is never easy to speak fluently at a good pace, at a rapid pace, because when the sentences are formed, certain chemical changes are also happening in the brain. Those chemical changes, they are making making the person speak in the way they are undergoing a changes, a metamorphosis kind of thing. So in order to construct sentences correctly, first of all, the concept of a grammar, it should be clear in the minds. For non-native speakers, let me again remind you, for non-native speakers, for us who are speaking Hindi, maybe we look upon our environment, and we have got people around us who speak Hindi correctly, and therefore there are chances that we will pick up our first language from them in a correct manner. Whereas if the people who are around you, and they are not speaking correct English, then the chances are that our second or third language that we are picking up, it may have certain problems. It may have grammatical issues, it may have issues of pronunciation, it may have issues of ineffective communication. So all those issues may emerge, and to come out of all those issues, the best way for you is to obviously go through the classroom. Classroom is a place where you give the practice. There is no equivalent to good practice. There is no equivalent to good practice if your aim, your goal is about having a good spoken English. If you look at all the courses which have been designed across the world, you will find that the practice is the final goal of everything. Final method which is employed by various universities to improve the spoken English. And it is so important actually, that most of the teaching learning methods which are based upon various technologies, they are also dependent upon this exercise method, to make the students speak one thing 10 times, to converse or various subjects. The subjects are then designed into various subsets: communication skills, personal one to one communication skill, one to many communication skill, many to one communication skill, standing on the stage and speaking to 100 people, talking with another person, the kind of person who is in front of you. He may be your boss in your office, he may be your classroom teacher, he may be a part of your family. So you see, the person that you are communicating to, the place that you are communicating, the amount of communication in fact that you require, all those things are practiced time and again, and only after that you can say that the students have got a better spoken English capability within them. So uh, we have to look upon, if we look upon the technology also, unfortunately, just like the medical sciences, uh, most of the, especially I think very recently, Baba Ramdev had made a comment, and he was sued by the ICMR for that. I don't want to fall into that trap, but it remains a fact that the diagnosis part of medical treatment, it is very given a lot of importance rather than the management part. Diagnosis and management, both of them are very important for treatment of a patient. But unfortunately, the diagnosis part, if you go to a doctor, the chances are that he will give you 10 tests. And only after those 10 tests, he will come up with an idea that you have got this thing. You have got a cervical spondylitis, and the only way after going through the MRI is that you need some certain exercises. So there is a limitation in that management part. There may be 100 methods of diagnosis, but the problem comes at the management part. How do you treat that? The treatment is lacking. The same case is with the use of technology in English also, in English spoken English also. Most of the methods which are being used by various universities across the world. Most of the softwares which have been designed for that purpose, they are like this. Just let me take one example. This one is Rosetta Stone. It is a resource which is given by a company of the same name by the US State Department and NASA, and it is practiced across around 9,000 classrooms across the world. And what is the methodology? It will record and analyze the speech patterns of the students in the classrooms. And after recording and analyzing those speech patterns, it will come up with certain gradings that this is the level of your spoken English. Okay, till then it's fine. But what after that? It uses the same method that we do in our normal classrooms. It gives them practice. It gives them fluency. Do this thing, do this exercise 10 times, and then it will again reanalyze the data from that person. There are various such instruments. One of them is called Jupyter. There is one called Fluency. There is one called Envoice. And there is one called Conversant Freshbook. These are all various techniques, various softwares, which are being purchased by various universities and schools across the world. But the methodology is something which uses the data and the speech of the students for analysis. Then it divides their performance into certain grades, certain levels, and then it will do what we always do: ask them to practice, ask them to do exercise. There is another very important thing that came to my mind. That was about the use of natural language processing. Natural language processing, and there is a software which is used in artificial intelligence these days called the Python. What does happen in that? Uh, the if you look at various customer care services, for example, if you look at the customer care services, there is artificial intelligence over there, where the pre-recorded voices, they respond to you depending upon your queries. So those voices which are there used, they are called the natural language processing voices. Those natural language processing voices, they are being used in certain quarters by the teachers also to improve the students. Then they also do what you call the auto spelling correction. The auto spelling correction. What do you do in that? For example, in MS Word, when you are writing in MS Word, you are typing in MS Word. If there is a grammatical error, you see a green signal. If there is an error in typing the exact spelling of the word, there will be a red signal. So that is auto correction, and there are certain methods in which it becomes auto corrected, and that auto correction is very, pathetic at certain times. When you write certain things which are not part of the dictionary of MS Word, then the chances are that it will use another word which is wrong for you, but that is right for them, that is right for them, their dictionary. So you have to be always very careful when you are typing. Whenever you are typing, even on your mobile, on your WhatsApp, and the auto spelling correction is on, you will find that it always, many times, it uses the wrong words, which you never intended to use in that particular scene, for that particular sentence that you have written. So you see, we have certain limitations with artificial intelligence. We have certain limitations with the technologies that we use. And in the same way as we use the exercise books in the classrooms, that is the only way we can use these technologies in the classrooms also. The way a teacher analyzes a student, I don't think you require a data to understand. आपके सामने एक छात्र बैठा हुआ है, and if that student is not able to speak fluently in English, you don't require a data analysis of that student to define that he is at a lower level of spoken English and he needs to raise his level. I don't think you require a technology for that. That is not required at all. In fact, we are living in a time of a pandemic, and because of that pandemic, we have been gradually shifting towards an online mode of education. Again, it is something which is very difficult for not only the teachers, but also for the students as well. It is just a way out. We are living in difficult times, and we कुछ नहीं हो रहा है तो online teaching कर लेते हैं, है ना, as a last kind of a last resort. But there is no equivalent of classroom teaching. जब आप क्लासरूम में बैठते हैं, आपके सामने जब छात्र बैठा रहता है और जब टीचर उनके साथ इंटरेक्ट करता है, this is something which was happening in the ancient times, in the traditional Indian gurukuls also, and the way the teachers used to communicate with the students. All those things, the facial expressions of the teacher, the way the teacher speaks, the way the students listen to that teacher, all those factors, the computer cannot just replicate those things. It cannot be an equivalent of a teacher. And unfortunately, we don't have an option. We don't have got the offline classes as of now. So we have to go for the online classes. And it is really very intriguing at times for you. When you speak, the internet goes off, the video goes off, the audio is not audible, and we have to live with that. We don't have an option. Then there are certain students who are living in the villages. Then there are certain students who don't have mobile phones of their own. There are students who don't have, there are especially the girl students here. They don't have, they use the mobiles of their parents, their brothers, and all those things. So you see, it has got a limitation, certain limitation within us, within our society. And we are not, for example, tech savvy people. This next generation may be loving technology to a certain extent, but it does not, loving technology does not take away the fact that our traditional method of teaching, it was by far superior to that. It was better to that. As a result of that, today when we are teaching in a classroom, or when we are talking about certain norms and methods of teaching, then what we do, we appropriate technology. Appropriation is the right word here. We incorporate technology into our method of teaching, and that technology has its certain limitations, and we understand those limitations. We have to understand those limitations, and only then we have to use them in the classrooms. We have to use them for the students. If we leave the students completely upon the technology, then the students are not going to learn anything substantial out of that. Of course, they can learn certain things, but they cannot learn everything out of that. They need a teacher for that. The same thing rule applies for various sorts of pronunciations also. When you are speaking in public, for example, and if we have got a doubt about a particular word that you are speaking about its pronunciation, you cannot say, please calm down for 1 minute and let me look at my online dictionary and look at the right pronunciation, then I will pronounce it for you. That does not happen. That never happens. So for that, you see, it has got certain limitations. Only when you are preparing something which is not extempore, something which you don't have to do without any prior preparation, only then you can use those technologies to improve yourself. It is for improvement purposes. It is not like that it is a magic wand. You don't say कि अब तो computer आ गया है, अब English सीखना आसान हो गया है. No, learning English and speaking English is as difficult it was before the coming of the computers. The only difference is that we have got an additional helping hand, which is the computer, the softwares built in there, which help you in the learning process in a somewhat easier way, because of the facility of having the audio visual thing in them. The the blackboard does not speak. The blackboard will only show what the teacher draws upon it. Whereas in the case of a computer, you have got video playback, you have got an audio playback, and that is of course very much helpful. But when there is a fixed program, in the computer, it will be again a one-way traffic. It cannot be interactive unless it uses artificial intelligence. And as I mentioned, artificial intelligence is never perfect. Auto spelling correction, it is never perfect. The answers that you are supposed to give to the students, it is never perfect, because whatever is there fed in the system, whatever is fed in the software, only that is the response that they have. If there is an out of the box question from a student, it will not have an answer for that. So that is where we have to understand, we have to first of all to wind up the points that I have been trying to make it. And I understand that most of the participants here, they are basically teachers of English. So I mean, I don't require to tell them how to teach. They know that. Of course, they know that. And it is a kind of a refresher course that we are having, in which we are trying to look at various problems that we face. We have to look at various issues that we face. We have to look at certain paradigms that we have to build upon for the students. And then we decide what will be our set goals, what will be our limitations. And in fact, I hate the word limitations. They are not our limitations. They are our specialities. For example, if somebody is from Bihar and that person has got a very good sound knowledge of Bhojpuri or Hindi, then that is not a limitation. If the accent is based upon Bhojpuri language or Hindi language or Bengali, or it may be Punjabi, it may be Tamil or any language, it is not a handicap. It is not a limitation. It is only a specialization. Your mother tongue is your specialization, and the way you speak, your specialized use of language. So for a Bihari speaking English, that is my way of speaking English. If a Punjabi speaks English, then it is his or her way of speaking English. That is the thing. We have to understand that if you don't speak in the British accent, if you don't speak English in the British or the American accent, it does not mean that you have got a very bad English. That is not the case. The thing is that your English is something which can be easily understood by the people in front of you. You can easily, you yourself enjoy the way you speak, and it should be very pleasant to the people who are sitting in front of you. That should be the goal that we should have. That should be the goal that the people who are around you should have about their own children, about their own family members, about their own students who are there in the classroom. So this is the way that we should proceed about this. This is the way that we should go about that. And the remaining things, the methods of allowing the students to go through the exercises, going through the same drills day in, day out, practicing hard every day, day in, day out, those things will remain the same as they were earlier, with certain new incorporations, certain technologies, certain audio-visual methods which can be used by the students, certain dictionaries which can be of use for the students for some sort of a self-help. All those things should be factored in when we are teaching English. So I think this is all that I need to say. And I must now open this floor for certain questions and certain issues that you might be facing while listening to my lecture. Please go ahead with your questions.
Anybody who is desirous to ask some questions to our trainer, you may ask. Chat box is open there, and sir is also visualizing the chat box. So raise your question, please.
There are no questions. There may be only two reasons for having no questions. Either the lecture was so bad that nobody listened to that, or either
Dr.
there is-
Avinash sir, Dr. Avinash sir,
yes.
someone has asked a question, Ashutosh Pandey. So please open your chat box, and Ashutosh Pandey has raised a question.
Okay, Asutosh Pandey.
Yes, sir. Which pronunciation is accepted in India?
Which pronunciation is accepted in India? All right. See, there is no single, as I mentioned, there is no standard pronunciation which is accepted in India. When we use the dictionaries, usually the dictionaries, the phonetic symbols which are there in the dictionaries, they follow the British accent. Some dictionaries which are based in America, they follow the American accent. So as I said, by the way your oral cavity is designed, by the use of your mother tongue, by the use of your local language, you cannot perfect that British accent. That is not possible. It is only when a child grows up with the proper English language as the mother tongue, only then that child can, especially in those who are reading in the convent schools and they are trying to learn those language from very beginning, from early childhood, only they can speak English with that accent, the British accent. Otherwise, for those who got English language at a later stage, when they learned the language first and they started speaking second, for them, pronunciation cannot be that British accent. So there is no set thing. Usually, for the purposes of evaluation, for the purposes of grammar, we follow the British accent here in India. The Oxford pronunciation that is usually acceptable in India. But the way you pronounce it, the way the phonetic symbols come out through your mouth when you speak, that can be moderated very close to what the British accent is, but it cannot be the same because you are not a Britisher, you are an Indian, right? And as I said, the standard is something which makes you easily understandable. The person who is sitting in front of you, that person is able to understand you quite easily. That is the thing that you should do. That is the thing that you should try to develop.
Sir, one question is there. Sir, are you in position to see your chat box?
Just hold on. I will
Just open it, sir.
just hold on a second.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Uh, Sir, how can I improve my word power software?
Yes, yes, sir, sir. So many questions.
Okay. So you see the way you have written this sentence, the spelling of sir is S-A-R. The spelling of improve is I-M-P-O-R-O-V. So you see there is some technical error there. So I mean some spelling error over there. So how do you improve your word power? The only way of improving your word power is through practice.
सदन जी, यहाँ हम रेज हैंड किए हैं तो कैसे?
One of the ways that I always ask my students to do is that, for example, कोई स्टूडेंट आता है मेरे पास, कहता है कि एक अखबार लो, न्यूज़पेपर लो आप, और हिंदी का लो, और उसी का आप जैसे कि नवभारत टाइम्स है, उसका एडिटोरियल लीजिए, समटाइम्स इंग्लिश का जो टाइम्स ऑफ इंडिया है, उसका एडिटोरियल जो है वो आप लीजिए, हिंदी में एक दिन अनुवाद कीजिए, और हिंदी वाले समय को कीजिए, और देखिए कि आपको एक कितनी गलतियां आपने की हैं, कितना उससे फर्क पड़ता है आपके इसमें अनुवाद में आपके। जब आप अनुवाद करते हैं, ट्रांसलेशन करते हैं, तो आप वर्ड्स को सीखते हैं। व्हेन यू आर ट्रांसलेटिंग समथिंग फ्रॉम अ सोर्स लैंग्वेज टू अ टारगेट लैंग्वेज and you are trying to find the most approximate equivalent of the source language into the target language, definitely the word power is going to improve. जस्ट आप ऐसा सोचे कि डिक्शनरी लेकर के रोज मैं 10 वर्ड याद करूं, आई डोंट थिंक दैट इज गोइंग टू हेल्प यू, क्योंकि आज याद कीजिएगा 10 दिन के बाद आप भूल जाइएगा। इट इज ओनली थ्रू गुड यूसेज, आप इस्तेमाल कीजिएगा, उसका प्रयोग कीजिएगा, डेली कीजिएगा, आप बोलने में कीजिएगा इस्तेमाल, लिखने में कीजिएगा उसका इस्तेमाल, आप उस चीज को पढ़िएगा, देन दैट विल बी वेरी मच हेल्पफुल। रीड एज मच एज यू कैन and at the same time use dictionary always. Even I use dictionary very often. I always keep a dictionary by my side whenever I read something. It's not that my English is poor, the thing is that there may be new words for me to learn. So keep your dictionary by your side and try to read as much as possible. एक दिन में आप 100 पन्ना पढ़िए, 100 पेज पढ़िए एक दिन में आप अंग्रेजी में, और जहां पढ़ने में दिक्कत हो रही है वर्ड्स को पढ़िए। एक बार आपने वर्ड को देखा, हो सकता है कि उसका मीनिंग आप भूल गए, कल आपको जब दोबारा पढ़िएगा तो वर्ड आपके सामने फिर आएगा और आप फिर डिक्शनरी को यूज कीजिएगा। 2 बार 3 बार हो सकता है, चौथी बार आपको याद हो ही जाएगा। सो आई थिंक practice is very important here, and try to read as much as you can do. This is very essential. This is very important for everyone. There is one question: is translation essential to teach English? Actually, I mean to know which method is better to teach English, direct method or bilingual method. I always, when you are teaching a student in Bihar, where English is not the mother language, always use the bilingual method. As a teacher, your English might be very good, but you have to live with the fact that the person who is listening to you, if you speak Malayan English, then that person is not going to get out anything out of that. The target, हमारा पढ़ाने का जो मकसद है वो ये है कि सामने वाला सीखे, and for that you have to be bilingual. You have to be bilingual. If you speak only English, then maybe they don't get anything out of that. So what is important is the requirement of the student, not our own knowledge. We may be very good knowledgeable person, but if we are not able to make the students understand, if we are not able to help out the students, then I don't think it is going to be of any use for us also. So try to be bilingual and try to connect with the students. If you want to make the classroom very much interactive, if you are trying to communicate with the students, then you have to be bilingual. We have got certain limitations. हमारे यहाँ के जो बच्चे हैं वो जो हैं आपको पैदाइशी अंग्रेजी सीख करके नहीं आते हैं, उनको सीखना पड़ता है एज ए थर्ड लैंग्वेज, फोर्थ लैंग्वेज पढ़ते हैं उस चीज को। तो आपको शुरू में बाइलिंगुअल आपको रहना ही पड़ेगा, वरना वो सीख नहीं पाएंगे। वंस दे अटेन ए सर्टेन लेवल, एक पर्टिकुलर लेवल पे जब बच्चे आ जाएंगे, देन यू कैन अफोर्ड टू यूज ओनली वन लैंग्वेज, इंग्लिश। बट फॉर दैट दे मस्ट अंडरस्टैंड इंग्लिश, दे मस्ट स्पीक इन इंग्लिश, दे मस्ट रीड एंड राइट इन इंग्लिश। वो लेवल पाने के बाद ही आप ऐसा कर पाएंगे। There are a few more questions, I think.
1 minute, sir.
Sir, kindly,
Honorable Saab.
kindly define once again contradiction and linking.
Yes.
You have got the wrong word. It is contraction. It is contraction and linking. By contraction is that you mean that there are certain usages in the word I am going home. So when you write that I and am going home, and you pronounce it separately, I is separate from am, then that will take you a longer time to speak, and there are more chances of having a flaw in the pronunciation. So the method that is used is contraction. Am, I am, hasn't, isn't, won't, I will not go, I won't go, I would not go, I won't go. You see, so these are the contractions that you use. And then there are linkages. Linkage कैसे करते हैं आप? जैसे कि सपोज कीजिए कि say anything, say anything. तो I don't want to say anything. तो say के अंत में क्या आ रहा है? Look at the sound, A. Don't go by the letters. मैंने शुरू में ही कहा था कि जब आप इंग्लिश प्रोनाउंस करते हैं, साउंड इंपॉर्टेंट है इंग्लिश में, साउंड इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट। से तो ए है और एनीथिंग का भी ए है, तो आप इसको लिंकेज कर सकते हैं। तो आई डोंट वांट टू से एनीथिंग, सो यू डोंट नीड टू सेपरेट से विथ एनीथिंग। सो यू आइदर लिंक ए वॉवेल विथ ए कॉन्सोनेंट और ए वॉवेल विथ ए कॉन्सोनेंट। टू कॉन्सोनेंट्स कैन नॉट बी लिंक्ड टुगेदर, राइट? तो आप जो सेंटेंस बोलते हैं, अगर कोई वर्ड है जो कि एक कॉन्सोनेंट पे खत्म होता है और अगला जो वर्ड है वो एक वॉवेल से स्टार्ट होता है, देन यू कैन यूज द लिंकेज फॉर स्मूथ स्पीकिंग, फॉर फ्लुएंसी। जब आप फ्लुएंसी डेवलपमेंट करते हैं बच्चों का, तो उसके लिए आप उस चीज का इस्तेमाल किया जाता है। सिमिलरली अगर कोई वर्ड जो कि आपको वॉवेल पे खत्म होता है और अगला जो वर्ड है वो एक वॉवेल से शुरू होता है, in that case also you can link the two vowels together, but only make sure that you don't start linking consonants together. That does not happen in English. And then there is another question somebody has asked, hold on, sir, how can I create a spoken environment in junior class? And which there is another question which is connected with that, which method is suitable in primary level, right? So again here you see, allow the students to speak in the class in correct English, allow them to speak, and once they start speaking in correct English, you are there to make them write correct English, to speak correct English. And if English is not their primary language, you should begin this by writing method. अगर इंग्लिश आपका प्राइमरी अगर लैंग्वेज नहीं है, अगर मदर टंग किसी स्टूडेंट का नहीं है, तो पहले उसकी राइटिंग में सुधार कीजिए। लेट दैट चाइल्ड हैव ए गुड अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ द ग्रामर, लेट दैट चाइल्ड हैव ए गुड अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ द सिंटैक्टिकल स्ट्रक्चर ऑफ द इंग्लिश लैंग्वेज, एंड लेट द चाइल्ड हैव ए गुड अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ द वर्ड्स, हाउ दे आर प्रोनाउंस्ड, हाउ द मीनिंग्स वेरी, how the usage decides what will be the meaning of a word. So all those things which begin with the writing of a third or fourth language, that begins with writing, and then gradually you evolve that into a spoken language. And as I said, when you are speaking in a language which is not your mother tongue, then certain pressure is built upon the mind. Certain chemical changes happen in the mind when you try to speak in that particular language. And it is never easy to construct sentences which are not coming naturally to you. Every non-native language learning is an unnatural process. That is the reality. Even if people don't accept it, this is the fact that every non-native language learning is an unnatural process for us. And therefore, you have to live with that reality, and you try to minimize that unnatural instinct which is there in you. You can minimize that, but you cannot bring that to zero. That is next to impossible. Similarly, if you ask a Britisher to speak Hindi like we do, can they do that? They won't do that, and they are not capable of doing that. So why should the Indians try to speak like the Britishers? हमें भी कोई बोलने की जरूरत नहीं है. अगर हम लोग बोलते हैं, आपस में कम्युनिकेशन सही हो रहा है, if you like the way I speak, if I like the way you speak, and there is a proper communication, that is the fundamental premise of any language. Language is only for communication. You have to communicate the ideas, you have to communicate the thought. Let me see, there is another question. Why do we use a plural verb with a singular subject as I teach English? We teach English, both sentences are correct, although it occurs in case of simple present. Please clarify it, sir. See, that as I said, it is dependent upon the usage. Usage कैसे करते हैं? There are certain words where we use. That's true, and it is limited. It is very much limited, and it depends upon the way you are using it, the place that you are using it. So always go by the usage of the word. किस context में use किया जा रहा है? The only way of finding a good relationship between the word and its meaning, and the word and the way it is pronounced, or the way it is used in the sentence, it has got a context to that. And unless you understand the context, you cannot have any clarity about why that thing has been used. It is in practice. For example, there are certain words which remain silent in pronunciation. So now if you say, sir, why is P silent in psychology? That is the way the language is, and that is the way you incorporate in your system. That is the way you have learned it. So there are so many words which are used in the verbs which are used in plural form for singular subjects. That's true, but they're very limited. They're very limited. And you have to practice it only through usage. There is no fixed norm for that. Similarly, one thing which I forgot to mention in the lecture, there is a one word which is very often used, the. So sometimes we use the word the in a very shortened form, and sometimes we use the word in a very long form, they. Why? When they is used before a word which begins with a vowel, it has got a long stress. When it is used before a word which begins with a consonant, it can be used with a very short accent, with a very short stress. So that is the way things are. But as far as usage is concerned, and the use of plural verb for a singular subject, that is dependent upon the use, dependent upon the word and the context that you are using that sentence. Then there is question, sir, with due respect, are you saying that there is no need to focus the students on pronunciation at all? I never said that. I never said that. I just said that there is no standard pronunciation as an Indian. That standard pronunciation that we have got the British accent, we try to appropriate that. We try to that. But if we are not able to attain that sense of pronunciation, if that accent does not come us to naturally, then it's not a huge issue. Try to be clear. Try to be focused on the pronunciation. As I said, if you speak English, it should be grammatically correct. If you are pronouncing a word, the pronunciation should be corrected. But the accent, the way you speak that word, that may not match the way a Britisher will speak. That was my point. You see, so if somebody says what is the standard of pronunciation, well, in papers the standard is a British English, but in reality that does not happen. Our only attempt is that to make the students attempt to reach that particular stage which they will never reach, which they will be never to able to emulate, because the structure of their oral cavity, the way they have learned language and the way they have learned to speak, the way the sounds come to us, it is not the same as the Britishers do. That was my point. I never said that you should not concentrate upon pronunciation. I never said that. uh, Next question. Again the same question, why two words same with same structure are cut and put, and they're pronounced differently? What is the logic behind? There is no logic behind that. That is why some people who are very fond of Hindi, they used to say ki English is very unscientific. It is not like that. It is something which came out of usage. Words which are in English, they came from different languages. Some of them came from the Greek language, some from Roman language, some from Scandinavian, Portuguese, German, French, some from Arabic, from Hindi also they have been a part of that. And the moment those words came into that language, they carried a sense of pronunciation also. जो ओरिजिनल लैंग्वेज है, जिस जहां से वर्ड आपको इंपोर्ट किया गया है, उसका एक सेंस ऑफ प्रोनाउंसिएशन भी था जो उसके पेरेंट लैंग्वेज में था। और वो यहाँ पे आकर के जब आता है कट, कट जो वर्ड है वो अपने पेरेंट लैंग्वेज से आता है, और पुट जब अपने पेरेंट लैंग्वेज से आता है, दोनों के इनिशियली प्रोनाउंसिएशन में फर्क है पेरेंट लैंग्वेज में। पुट जो है उसके पेरेंट लैंग्वेज में ऊ का है, कट जो है उसका जो पेरेंट लैंग्वेज यहाँ से लिया गया है, लोन वर्ड लिया गया है, वो अ का है उसमें। So English language, it has evolved over a long period of time, and during that process of evolution, words from different languages have become a part of English language. And when they were being used in English, some of them carried that tradition of pronunciation from the original language. Some of them did not carry that, and it is not a very simple process. It is a very complex process. Evolution of any language, it is a very complex process. It is sociological. As a matter of fact, language development is a social product. The society defines how a language is going to be produced. Any more relevant questions? If you have, please go ahead. Any further questions?
Perhaps no more questions. One question is there.
Okay.
Sasikant
So
Chaudhary.
thank you very much.
Sasikant Chaudhary, sir. Unmute yourself and raise your question.
Okay.
Sasikant Guruji.
You see how the words there. Yes, yes. How the words there and there should be pronounced. You see, in normal pronunciation, there and there, they are similarly produced. They are similarly pronounced. But again, the way you pronounce it and the way I pronounce it, it depends upon the word which follows there. The word which follows, that defines the way we produce it, the way you pronounce it. So what is before the word and what is after the word, when it is a part of the sentence? When a word becomes a part of a sentence, and then you decide whether it is followed by a vowel sound, whether it is followed by a consonant sound, then you decide how do you pronounce it. I think I'm getting messages that we are running short of time, and I think I will have to continue that. I have to discontinue my lecture now, and we have to come to a conclusion. Thank you everybody very much for being a part of this session and for listening to me for close to 1 hour. Thank you very much. And now I hand over the mic to the anchor who is hosting the session. Please, over to you, sir.
Shashikant Guruji,
Yes.
now it's your
Um,
turn.
Okay. Am I audible, Ranjan ji?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot for your inspiring and attractive training session. Sir, you have really showed us so many ways that would help us in our future. The one thing that you stressed more is practice. Certainly, practice makes someone perfect. And following your guideline, I think all my teachers and students will be able to do better in future. Now it is the time for presidential speech. I would like to request Sri Satyanarayan Gupta ji to come for presidential speech. Sri Satyanarayan Gupta ji.
इस अंग्रेजी के प्रशिक्षण में आए सभी आचार्य, भाग देने वाले सभी महानुभावों को मैं हृदय से हार्दिक अभिनंदन करता हूं। अभी डॉक्टर अविनाश जी का लेक्चर मैं सुन रहा था। जैसा कि उन्होंने बताया कि इंग्लिश इज एन एसेंशियल लैंग्वेज which enable us to get higher education in different discipline, as for example medical science, engineering, and many other language, many other subject. But it is most important to how to learn English, because there are so many methods, so many techniques to learn English. So what is the simple method? So teacher have to know, have to use the simple method to get to give information or to get technique that students have to collect the language. So most important is that the practice is better to learn English. तो इस प्रकार से उन्होंने इंग्लिश के संबंध में, इंग्लिश जानने के संबंध में जो टेक्निक बताया, जो मेथड बताया, वो बहुत ही इम्पोर्टेंट था, बहुत ही सराहनीय था। मैं हृदय से डॉक्टर अविनाश जी को धन्यवाद देता हूं, जिन्होंने इतने अच्छे तरीके से, इतने विस्तृत तरीके से इंग्लिश सीखने की एक विधि और बच्चों को कैसे जानना चाहिए, बच्चों के बारे में भी उन्होंने एक अच्छे मार्ग बतलाया है, जो मार्गदर्शन दिया है। मैं उनके प्रति भी आभार प्रकट करता हूं, उनको धन्यवाद देता हूं। साथ ही मैं उम्मीद करता हूं कि इस प्रशिक्षण से हमारे आचार्य भी काफी लाभान्वित हुए होंगे और इसका लाभ उठाएंगे और आगे के जीवन में जो हम बच्चों को, अपने भैया बहनों को शिक्षा देते हैं, उसमें हम उसका लाभ उठा सकेंगे। मैं पुनः आप लोगों को धन्यवाद देता हूँ, धन्यवाद।
हेलो।
Shashikant Guruji.
We are really grateful to Sri Satyanarayan Gupta ji for his participation in this program. Sir, we are really grateful to you. Now it is time for vote of thanks. I would like to request our friend Sri Lakhendra ji from Betia for vote of thanks. Sri Lakhendra Kumar Singh ji.
Thank you, Shashikant ji. I feel immense pleasure to pay a vote of thanks in this session of the third day spoken English training camp. First of all, I would like to express my heartiest gratitude to Dr. Avinash Kumar sir. Sir, your session was so thought-provoking. It really made us think. Thank you so much for your wonderful and lesson-giving lecture. All the participants are obliged to you, sir. Next, I would like to pay my heartiest thanks to Sri Satyanarayan Gupta ji for his presidential address. Your speech was too inspiring. I express my gratitude for such inspiring speech that was really showing us path. Next, I would pay my profound gratitude to our Honorable Pradesh Sachiv, Sri Nakul Kumar Sharma ji. Without your contribution, this training might not have been possible. Thank you so much for your generous contribution. I also express my thanks to all the members of Prantiya English Spoken Training Work. I especially thank Mr. Lalit Kumar Rai ji for his such unparalleled contribution. I am proud of my Prant Pramukh Sri Praveen Chandra Mishra ji for his cooperation. I am also happy to pay my heartfelt thanks to our technical team with Sasank, Dwij, Ranjan ji and Akhilesh ji. I also pay my thanks to Sri Sasikant Chaudhary ji and Lakshmikant Jha ji for cooperation. I also pay my vote of thanks to the team of Ganga Saraswati Sishu Mandir for such monotonous Vandana Sabha. I pay my gratitude from the core of heart to all the participants who joined and made this training a great success for us. I pay my gratitude to all the people who directly or indirectly participated in this spoken English training work. Thank you all. And I also pay my gratitude to Almighty God and the network companies for this kindful and helpful situation. Thank you all. I take you over to Sasikant Chaudhary ji to Kishanganj. Thank you.
Now I request Sister Rasmi ji for Shanti Mantra. Rasmi ji, Shanti Mantra.
Sasikant ji, Rasmi ji is not present because of network connection, and I am,
Okay, then I will perform it. Okay.
yes, okay.
Okay. सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामया सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः